Implementation science is sometimes like being lost in the woods, and you're surrounded by frameworks and theories and models. Oh my! Hey, I'm Dr. Jonah Same, back again with another slice of implementation science. Now let's talk about theories and their place in the implementation science forest. Theories or theoretical models describe how variables or factors are connected. They can explain the cause and effect relationship between two things. They link determinants and the outcomes. For instance, why am I hungry? Outcome, it's dinner time. Determinant, see? Hungry, dinner, perfect. Classical theories are simplistic concepts, but can be used to explain a wide range of outcomes or behaviors. We start tagging on the word models when a theory has a picture with arrows connecting boxes or circles. But for this, we'll use the word theory and theoretical model synonymously. A great example of a classical theory is behavior theory, which suggests that all behaviors are learned via conditioning. Two types of conditioning. One, classical, which suggests that through repetition, you can link a neutral stimulus with a natural response. That's how Pavlov got his dog to salivate, by simply ringing a bell. And then there's, of course, operant conditioning. That suggests behaviors are influenced by repeated reinforcement or punishment. Using this principle, Skinner was able to get animals to mindlessly push a lever, expecting food to come out. Now you're probably saying, well, Charles, don't we all believe in behavior theory then? Yeah, but how about Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory? And in your specific context, you may ascribe to the idea that people learn by observing others and not by conditioning. Or you may integrate ideas from Rogers' diffusion of innovation theory to understand how your evidence-based practice will be integrated into the community. Everyone has a theory of how the world works and how we apply these theories every day with ourselves, our children, our coworkers, and obviously in our research and clinical practice and so on. The problem is we often don't do a great job of explaining what that theory is or using the theory to make deliberate decisions in our research process. The cognitive model describes how people's perceptions or spontaneous thoughts influence their emotional, behavioral, and often physiological response, like those sweaty palms you get when you're giving a speech in front of your peers. Or like the butterflies that you get in your stomach when you see someone you have a crush on right across the room. Yo, what's up, girl? What's up? Or whatever. What this means is that an event occurs and it may be stressful. This leads to a thought or belief, and then there's a response, a behavioral response or a physiological response or an emotional response. And this response may be something negative that we want to change, for instance, increased anger, heart rate, blood pressure that leads to cardiovascular disease. And so now using this model, we can make decisions on where to intervene to improve that negative response. Looking upstream, we know we can't change the event or the situation that occurs, but instead we can attempt to target those automatic thoughts and images that pop into an individual's head and lead to those risk factors and lead to those negative outcomes. And remember, established theories will not always work perfectly with your problem of interest or your specific project, but they are starting points. Some will disagree, but theories are meant to be adapted to fit your situation. So what's an example of how we would adapt a theory to fit our context or situation? I wanted to explain how computerized behavioral therapy was going to influence my outcomes of interest: pain, opioid use, and emergency department utilization in a chronic disease population. Based on the cognitive model, it is clear that changes in thoughts and emotions are mediating the effect of our intervention. Now, if someone asks me, Charles, why do you believe this? I can point them to a specific theory in a body of work that supports my assertion. All right, let's do one more example. Another well-known and widely applicable theory is Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory. This theory looks at childhood development as a complex system of relationships affected by multiple levels of the surrounding environment, from the family to the school to the broader cultural values, laws and customs and politics that may influence behavior. If we're interested in youth depression, Using this theory forces us to consider several systems, not simply the individual of interest in their immediate environment. Without the guidance of theory, we may have only focused on treating depression in the clinical setting. However, now that we're using theory, we inquire about, measure, and perhaps even try to institute change in the child's religious community, school environment, and their social media exposures. So as you can see, when you have the right theory, you'll do a better job of choosing the stakeholders, your qualitative interview questions, outcome measures, and even your implementation strategies. Now let me give you one more example of how to use theory in your own research. Our group has been looking at how cognitive behavioral therapy apps can be used to effectively treat depression and anxiety among African Americans. The problem is the people we're trying to reach, African Americans, don't actually use the intervention. So can we use theoretical models to address the problem of CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy uptake in this population? The COM-B model stands for capability, opportunity, motivation, and the B stands for behavior. The central tenet of the model is that for any behavior to occur, there must be the capability to do it, the physical strength, the knowledge, skill, stamina to perform that behavior. There must be opportunity for the behavior to occur. That means that it must be physically accessible, affordable, socially acceptable, and there has to be sufficient time to make it happen. Finally, the individual must be motivated to do the behavior. They must be more highly motivated to do that behavior than engage in any other competing behavior. So with this model in mind, we work directly with our stakeholders and community partners. And we wanted to understand specifically what is it in the Black community that leads to lower CBT engagement, use of the app, and contact with a health coach. We asked, are you motivated to use CBT? Do you have the capability to use it? And is there opportunity for you to use it? We found out a couple things, including the individuals who were using CBT needed to overcome mental obstacles. They needed to overcome that feeling of stigma associated with using therapy, capability. They wanted to have more people around them doing it. They wanted to be part of a crowd that was participating in the CBT intervention, opportunity, and motivated. Stakeholders wanted to be motivated. They wanted to know that the information was relevant. So yes, this looks overly simplified and maybe it's too simple, but at the end of the day, nobody said this needed to be complicated. Before I leave you, here's a quick summary of what we've covered. Theory explains the connection between different variables. It helps us understand why our behavior happens or doesn't happen. And ultimately, theory can help us identify targets for our intervention or our implementation strategy. So you need to have your theory. Stay theoretical, my friends. Until next time.